Hello, From fans. It's a great time to be a From fan right now. We're less than 30 days until season 3. I'm doing weekly videos breaking down the biggest questions and mysteries from the full length trailer released earlier this month, as well as from season 2. And of course, before I start, please remember the Movie Ghoul merch site is live and you can order your favorite From shirts, stickers, and hats. From returns September 22nd, and every week I'm doing videos and breakdowns on From and the full length trailer. And this week I'm talking about who is Henry. Now, Henry is somehow related to Victor's mom and Victor's sister. Now, we don't know if Victor's sister is actually dead, even though Victor did say that his sister died with his mom. Now, Victor showed Tabitha where he found his mom's body, but he did not show where he found the sisters or if she was laying next to her. So you know how it works in these type of shows. If you don't see the body, they are not dead. It's just how it works. And so we did see the flashback, the audience flashback, what I called them, because remember, what the show shows us could not be what either the characters see or what other people on the show see. So we have a unique perspective. Now, we did see Victor's sister leave the root cellar and go to find her mother. And now this opened the possibility that Eloise could have escaped and she could have been in the real world trying to find her way back to rescue Victor and possibly even thinking her mom was alive. But we don't know yet. And so in the picture, we see the flashback of young Eloise. And this made me think that we necessarily do not know what Eloise looks like as an adult. And the reason why I say that is because we could have already seen her. She could be someone on the show or someone that we've seen already. Could she be Donna? Now, I know the hair color is different, but there's ways to go around that. And then also, could she be Tabitha? I mean, there was a lot of questions and early theories about how Victor just kind of gravitated towards the Matthews family, how he just kind of walked up to Julie like he knew her. Now, of course, he would have been there by the time she was born, but it seems to be like he has some sort of connection to Ethan and Julie and even Tabitha. And Tabitha was being extremely nice to her. So that was a possibility that someone could have been in From already, escaped, and now came back. We saw a little bit about this with the bracelet theory, about Jim's bracelet that a lot of people don't even talk about, or there's really no other information about how it got there or how Jim lost it or who was the one that took it and brought it back there. We just know found it in Kenny's mom's diner. Now, I understand that that's a possibility, but don't be so literal, right? I understand that there are different races. Tabitha is a different descent. She's a different ethnicity, but this is a TV show and it's all about casting. And if she's a lead actor, Academy Award nominee, I'm sure they're gonna have her play a complex role, and it could be Eloise as well. We don't know. Now, in the trailer where Tabitha goes to Henry's home, Henry being the new person who we don't know what his actual connection is other than something to Victor and possibly Miranda, we do see pictures of the family on the wall. So there's pictures of Eloise that matches the flashback. And since that we as the audience saw, and there's also pictures of Victor that match from the flashback scene. So we know that this house either was or is where they used to live and could possibly be where Eloise currently lives or lived up until a certain point. There's still no indication, right, as far as what year it is. No indication of the time that has passed, meaning that if it's the same time that has passed in From, or a different time has passed outside in the real world. So meaning Victor being in From for 40 years, has it been 40 years in the real world? We don't know. But there hasn't been in the trailer for season 3, in the clips that we've seen, there hasn't been any newspapers, TVs, or any type of style indication of a modern 2024 or even the 2000s. So that was my last video about Tabitha's time machine. she went somewhere and traversed some sort of time, but it might not have been a time travel as far as from one year to the next, but time as in space. Okay, now another person that Henry could be is he could be Eloise's husband or Eloise and Victor's other brother. Or the third one, he could just be everybody's father. He could be married to Miranda. Now, I looked and thought that this guy was older, right? Or pretty much the same age as Victor. Now, I know Victor's supposed to be in his 40s. This guy could possibly be 60s, but I just thought there was a bigger age. There was the big age gap. Him and Victor looked about the same age, and in real life they might be the same age. I don't know, but I didn't think he necessarily was old enough to be Victor's father, but maybe he could be. And someone in the comments, my previous post posed that he was older. Now we do see Henry wearing a wedding ring in one of the pictures, so he is married to somebody. We just don't know who. We don't see Christopher wearing a wedding ring in the flashbacks or in the visions, so that it appears that he could be married, but maybe his ghost version is not. I don't know. And when we found out about the character, we wanted to know how Victor knew so much about Christopher and was he his stepfather. And I had the opportunity to talk to the actor that Scott McCord that plays Victor, and I did ask him about Christopher and if Christopher is his father. He just said that was very interesting, and I'll insert the clip here. There is a picture in the house that looks like a family portrait, and it has a gentleman in the middle, and we can't tell if it's Henry or Christopher, and obviously the mom, Miranda, and on the left, obviously Victor, and there's another person in the front who does look like Eloise, but we really can't tell. It kind of looks like there's a filter or some sort of blend on the picture, keeping us from keep making it as clear as the other ones. But I do think that it is Henry, and I do believe that Henry is Victor's father. And so instead of Christopher, which we originally thought. But we'll have to wait and see. And then there was another picture that I saw of two boys. Now, I thought they were two boys, and I still do, and they both looked like they had light hair. And I don't really know how the hair works as far as someone growing up with lighter color hair and then ended up being darker, or if someone dyed their hair when they got older. I don't know how it could work, but it looked like there was two boys. It didn't look like Victor and Eloise, and I thought possibly this could be Victor's brother. So, as far as what happened to Christopher, we don't know. Another big mystery on the show, the character was brought as a flashback or vision to only Jade can see, and everybody kind of wanted to know who the guy was. And we got some information, and that was actually probably still to this date the most information that we got about something going on in From, and the most biggest reveal, because the reveal was the vision, then was the investigation, then Jade and Victor finally spoke, and then he took him to the car graveyard, and then he basically explained all these different things about him, but mostly to Tabitha. But I think that the trail of information and breadcrumbs that they followed in that season 2 was the most information we got, and it really wasn't anything. Now, on the night that the massacre happened and Victor and his sister were in a root cellar, and the rest of the people in the village died, and that was the night his mom and sister also supposedly died. And so our question was, did Christopher die as well? Is he still alive, or did the visions of the symbol consume him? Did he go to the lighthouse, and did he fall out of the lighthouse? We did see that the lighthouse was broken previously before Tabitha, or as soon as Tabitha entered. So could that have mean that someone was there before her and fell out the window to go to the real world? Since the boy in white said that is the only way. What does Victor know? I mean, I think first off, Victor knows where the exit is. I mean, he said that in his text, right? He showed Tabitha where he found his mother's body, and he pointed to the bottle tree. Now, I wanted to point out that the bottle tree that Victor and Tabitha saw is not the same bottle tree that Boyd and Sarah saw, and I'm going to have to compare the two pictures because if you remember, Boyd picked a bottle off the tree and had a date. I believe, like, if there was really some sort of time travel or magic about the bottle tree or the bottles themselves, when he either said the name or number or pulled it, something magically would have happened, like a flash, a color, something. I do believe Victor knows the end game. I mean, if you look at the clips, he says that you could say where my mother went that night, and she went to save the children locked in the tower. So he knows the whole thing. Like, hey, if you ask Victor what's going on and how do we possibly get out of here, he'd probably say that you can save the children locked in the tower. So I feel like that's information that we as fans and investigators of From have to use, right? That is the end game. Save the children locked in the tower. And we have to figure out how to do that. And I feel like there's only one person who's seen the children and is trying to help the children. Now, Jade saw the symbol, which led him to seeing the children on the altar, but he's not really in the process of saving the children. Like, I also want to say that there are possibly two buildings, because when we hear it before, we hear him talk about the lighthouse, right? It's obvious lighthouse. They don't refer to it as a tower. And so I think when Victor says save the children locked in the tower, I think that's different than the lighthouse. So what I believe is that when season 2 started, Boy was in a well. That was at the bottom of the tower. And then he climbs up the rope magically from whoever threw it to him, came into the little dungeon area where Martin was being held, and later where Julie and the rest of them that were possessed were held. And I think if you go up, that will be an old tower. And I don't think the tower is the lighthouse. And so I believe his sister might be over by the tower. His mother was over by the bottle tree, faraway tree. And I believe that they take you to different places depending on when you go. And so Victor's drawings, Victor's drawings are very much a bunch of stories that his mom used to tell him, or just a kid having a wild imagination. I don't think they're prophecies. I used to at the beginning, and I thought these pictures at some part of the season were going to come true, but I don't think that's the way they are. So I really don't put much into the drawings that Victor did anymore, even though I did at the beginning think they held a lot of clues. And if you look at my old videos, you will see me doing a lot of interpretations of Victor's drawings, but now I just think that they were drawings from a child and not really foreshadowing what's to come, because we're still waiting for the flood. We're still waiting for this man in black. We're still waiting for this giant spider's web and all these things that we're just not seeing. And now there is some coincidences, but even a broke clock is right 2 times a day. Okay, so in the trailer we see as a kid, so it might not be able to consider the boy in white a kid, but if you do want to look, there might be evidence in some of the other scenes that there is an additional kid. If you look at the in the cave, in the altar room where the kids were laid out, that Jade saw in the vision, you will see that there is possibly an 8th altar, so it could be an 8th kid somewhere. Now this could be the boy in white. But then also, if you consider all the other children in the village, there's 11, meaning Ethan would be a child, and then Victor was a child, because at one time he was a boy in the village, so you also have to consider him, and all the other children in the village. And that could tie in from what Sarah said in the writing, which appeared on her arm that said kill the boy. She could have been talking about Victor, she could have been talking about Ethan, or she could have been talking about the boy in white. It could have been that the entity knew Victor as a boy, right? And so we don't know. But moving on, we see Victor and Sarah talking, and now I believe this is the first time we saw Victor and Sarah talk. I think there's some sort of connection there with them. It's definitely not normal to see them talk or even be friendly with each other, especially all of a sudden. I don't believe we've ever seen them talk before now. They're having a secret meeting. Now we see, it seems like they live in the same household, or are neighbors in the town. Victor is no longer at the colony house. So it seems like you got Victor, Sarah, Jade in this group of people in the town who have a strong connection and information, and are trying to figure out pieces of the puzzle, or have pieces of the puzzle. And now they're talking to each other. So I think they're finally going to start making progress. But we don't really have a lot of scenes or heard them talk before, so we don't know, where this could go, and how this is leading to what Victor is digging up. Now, could it be a box? Possibly. Of course, if he buries something, it definitely has to be a box. Now, Rotten Tomato has released the season 3 episode descriptions, and looks like they released some details in what Victor was searching for. In season 3 episode 5, it says Victor must face a painful reminder of his past. Then in season 3 episode 8, it says Victor struggles to recover long buried memories about the town. So what could this reminder of his past be? Possibly his sister, and what possibly happened to her. He might go into details of where he found Eloise's body, if he did find it. The next description could be a drawn pictures or flashback of what happened in the town and how exactly he survived, right? Possibly what happened after he left the root locker. And this could also tie into what he finds when we see him in the trailer digging up the ground. It has to be some sort of box. It has to be some sort of trunk or some sort of, object that can be opened and has something in it. I don't think it's a body. I don't think it's a gun. I don't think it's peaches. Now we're going to find out if Eloise is dead, and we're going to find out how she died. Maybe a flashback and finding a body. I don't know. So what else does Victor know? Victor also knows the second map of this in the second truck, which is everyone calling on the internet right now, the Peachtree map. Which, I mean, if you look at it, it does look a little bit different than the map that was in his bedroom, and it looks to be some sort of, system that connects every place or other places we have not seen. There's some sort of housing structures that seem to be different compared to just the town. It looks like they've got a couple extra cabins, got some mountain ranges and a couple of forests and arrows pointing towards those forests and other areas in sections 1, 2, and 3. Looks like he's got some spacing as far as written on there, and so it looks like it could be documented by steps. I don't think that Victor was the one that told Jade and Kenny where to go to look for Tabitha, even though he pretty much has a map in the colony house and he has a map in his Peachtree truck. So it seems like he knows the way around here, but I definitely believe that Boyd told them where to go overall. I do think Victor knows how to get out of there, but another thing I want to point out is that theory I put on Reddit. If you look at my page, I put this about a year ago about Jade's tech company theory and how the theory is just more about them being an assimilation and dealing with a lot of pocket dimensions and NPCs. Now, I want to make clear on here my original theory is the Viking theory, but I do believe that the show creators mixed up a whole bunch of books, a whole bunch of Stephen King novels, and a whole bunch of other, witty and things from other TV shows. And the characters that I do think are NPCs and not real people, I think is Victor is not a real person. I think Tom the bartender was not a real person. I think Sarah is not a real person. I think Fatima is not a real person. I think Father Kotrup is not a real person. Christy and Donna, yes, Donna is not a real person. Surprise. Donna is not a real person because she would have a family. And yes, I know we go back and forth in the comments. She did say that she had a sister, and no one could confirm that her sister was ever really there. No one's seen her and her sister at the same time. We did see the picture, but we see that the corner is ripped out, which is super suspicious. We know that the creators and showrunners are very particular in their details, and so for the corner to be ripped out, I believe that it says something about it. We've never saw her, and we've never had a flashback. I don't believe she had a family. Now, we don't know that she could be lying, and then the monsters are also NPCs, and there's a lot of evidence to support this. If you guys play video games or you understand NPC characters start repeating conversations after you go back to them 2 or 3 times and say the same thing over and over again. They sleep off camera, and basically, which means they're shutting down and they don't eat, and it's just kind of rip people apart, and I think that's where we're getting into the NPC part, and so I do believe the weather changes are also the most clear indication of this being a non-playable universe or just being a simulation controlled. You can't control the weather, and for them to just add storms and rain at will kind of lets you know that there's someone controlling this. So it has to be an NPC. So for the final question, I want to ask, what does Victor want? Does he want to escape? And I think that's the question we have to ask all the characters. What does Sarah want? Does she want to escape? Does Boyd want to escape? Does Donna want to escape? And I believe the answer is no. None of them want to escape. The only person that wanted to escape from Ville was the person who actually ended up escaping, and that is Tabitha. I mean, do we think it's a coincidence that Jade and Kenny go looking for Tabitha and end up going the wrong direction? When we've seen so many times people go to the bottle tree, I mean, it's less than a day's walk. If he was going to go to the bottle tree and just kind of look around, he didn't necessarily need an overnight backpack. But then all of a sudden they end up in this extra part of the map that nobody's been to before, because it's on purpose. I feel like Jim misleads people. I feel like he was the first one to turn off the road intentionally, and I feel like now again he's ending up in another part of the map intentionally. I feel like his bracelet ended up in Fromville intentionally because he's been there before. I don't think anybody else wants to escape, and that's why I believe something funny is going on with a few of the people there. I hope you guys like this video. I'm the movie guru. I'll catch you guys on the next video. I got a couple of live streams coming up and should be a surprise. And of course, I have a couple of new episodes for the next couple of weeks remaining until the new season will go live on the premiere of the first episode. So, of course, as always, let's talk about it and discuss in the comments. And of course, before I start, please remember the Movie Guru merch site is live and you can order your favorite From shirts, stickers, and hats.